Alrighty, so for week 5, the week before we hit our first dev, I'm going to have you do something that is really important in JavaScript. And I know I must say that all the time, but it really is true. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy your code. That's not important, but it is good to follow standards and put it in the right location. But here's the key from last week where I had you write functions that were methods. I want you to refactor it. I want you to take it out of that big object that you may have created, or maybe you created two, but move from, and this is just kind of going a step back, honestly, because I think it's good as we move into dev 1 for you to do this, right? And that I would do before I do the rest, okay? So where we had object methods last week, I want there to be functions this week. Okay, so you got to make, and that's really important to make your code work, and then move on to this, which is the biggest new thing. Determine how you would implement an array of objects and looping for your code base. Okay, now I'm going to actually show you mine, not the whole thing, but just the concept and the way I approached it. Okay, so I'm going to move over to my code, my VS Code. So what I did as I created, for me, I created a daily array, and inside of here are my objects. And I'm not going to show you only because it's just a lot of code. And as you can see, it goes to line 43 because I set up all of my, matter of fact, if you want to look, all of these things last week, right? All of this content or all this data, all these variables that I was using became an object inside this array. So what this allowed me to do then was, and by the way, you don't have to do it this way. I suspect some of you will because you've seen my example, but also think of your own process. Like, how could you implement this array of objects? Because again, this is such a fundamental thing in JavaScript to understand. So what I did here is I called a function called loop over daily, just to kind of give it, something that describes what it does. And then inside this function, I did a for each, which loops over every one of those objects inside of here. And then I called my process daily, and I ended up calling each of them an object. In this case, it's not a reserved word, and it kind of just says what it is, which I like. And then I processed daily, and then I passed in that object, and I can keep the same name. I don't have to name it something different. It makes sense sometimes to name it something different if what you're doing in here you want to abstract, okay? So in this case, then I run through this. I run through mine. I really added no functionality. I just made it work the way the last one did, but I did it with processing an array of objects. Okay, I hope that helps you. This definitely is a good challenge and sets you up for doing your first dev project. Okay. Now I've really been considering whether I'm going to require an array of objects, but if I don't, I'll just be an array, which might be a little easier, but I want to give you the experience because as we move forward, having that knowledge will be really beneficial. Okay, so this is how I grade it. This hasn't changed from last time except that I updated that as well. You give me your Git hack link, make sure that works. I've shown you how to debug your code. Definitely come see me. Shout out again to the Discord, which has been great. All right, see you later.